Welcome to our steampunk wedding that we just had. And unlike a lot of weddings, which they just threw a few gears on it, we actually do steampunk. And this is not just decorations for us, but it's what we wear. It's what we go and play in conventions and stuff like that. And it's what I create. It's my artwork. And so basically I like to wear my artwork. Steampunk by itself, it's actually been around. It's been around for over 20 years. The term actually came about when in the late 70s, early 80s, there was cyberpunk. And the cyberpunk was a techno type of underground movement, just like it. And there was a couple of writers, guys, they're kind of tired of the cyberpunk idea, so they thought, well, what if we went the other direction? And they said, and it was kind of like a lark where they said steampunk. Well, they mentioned it and they said it, and it kind of went along to a couple other people, and it caught on. It was the idea of a retro Victorian future that is different. And it doesn't have to be necessarily Victorian. It's technically Victorian Edwardian, which covers anywhere from 1830s all the way up to 1914, start of World War I. But basically comes down to, if you have like Jules Verne with the Nautilus and all those amazing stories, you have H.G. Wells with the Time Machine, and a number of other Victorian, there's actually many different Victorian science fiction writings at the time. And then you also even take Wild Wild West with all its crazy Western, but still in the Victorian era, creations. And what if they all worked? What if they all were able to be created and these actually had these crazy things? Journey to the Center of the Earth. Those items and how they created them. The Man in the Moon, where they just shot a man in the moon. What if that could happen? So the genre started with making things like this. The idea of dressing up in pseudo-Victorian style outfits of all kinds of different types. The idea that airships were prevalent, man could fly, that space or ether. John Carter of Mars was also for the period. That's another idea that can be incorporated in steampunk. And another one of the original concepts of it was not just going out and buying something for it, which you can do now. There's lots of people that do make things and all that. But the idea was to go out, find things from thrift stores, find items that were used, and reuse them in a different way, and just take something and repurpose it in just a fun and incredibly artistic direction. And this doesn't have to be just items. It can be artwork. It can be writing. I always tell people, you can create. You don't have to be able to create this, but you can create something. But this is my artwork. When we say steampunk, I have here my Flying Scotsman, which is my creation of items, which he has his big blaster here, and I'll turn this around a moment to show you a little bit. And he has his jetpack to fly, jump from ship to ship. But this item, as I go around, the brass armored arm that's powered to give extra strength, and also to be able to control his flying machine. All these pieces are repurposed parts. I even have my little compass that pops out so I can find my way. And like this item here, this is my Tesla coil expanding blaster to fire in the ship, which there's a wonderful brass lamp. This here, I turn it over and actually turn it on. This here was a lantern that, hang on if I can do this from where I'm sitting. So yeah, so hang on. One of the real concepts of steampunk is the illusion of function. And that's something I really kind of came up with, I think myself. I don't know, somebody else may have said it at some other point. But the illusion of function, where you make something that it looks like it can work in some fanciful fashion. And they just, you know, what would this item be created for? And these are all just little parts. These are parts off a sewing machine. This is just a brass piece. This candlesticks. The control box. This little thing here was an incense burner. Put all this other pieces on it. If you come around to my backpack, there's a trumpet in here. This part of a trumpet. This is a vase that's upside down. This here, if you pull it far enough down, you'll see the inscription. This was a champagne flute from somebody's wedding at one time. The top of a desk lamp. Just all kinds of different parts. And the whole thing is the concept to put them together to make them look like they do something amazingly crazy. And that's one of the beauties of steampunk. My first gun I made was this big heavy thing here, which it probably used to light up, but it doesn't do that anymore. There's an impact wrench here. There's parts of a candlestick sight, another part of candlesticks. These are used .50 caliber shells. The whole thing is about putting something together. And you have my handpiece. And these just little parts. And I personally do a lot of metal working and moving and putting together. So it's about creating that. But you put it on, and actually I'm going to take this off here, so I'll show you real quick. Come here. I thought real quick. That one came off. This one's going to come off. And this piece is, now this was a flat piece of brass that I bent and formed and shaped. And what the idea, the purpose, when this is connected and I'm in my jumpsuit, these are my in-flight controls to go left and thrust and such like that, up and down. But that's the purpose for it. And it's LEDs, piece of the brass. The springs came from one of those pieces that hold a dish on the wall. Yep. So the beauty of it is it's still growing, it's expanding. It's become a little more corporate. Disney likes it. The steampunk thing is just an amazing endeavor, and there's elements of it all over the place. There's a restaurant in Jacksonville called Goozle Pipes and Gutty Works, and it's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful, but it's another vision. If you get, there's places in New Zealand, there's a whole town, they have steampunk festivals all the time. And these are celebrated a lot of times at conventions. Conventions where it's just steampunkers, or conventions where it's the comic book or whatever, all the sci-fi, and it just blends in with everything else. There's individuals who have created steampunk versions of other things, like steampunk Boba Fett, steampunk Star Wars characters, steampunk Batman. I saw a fabulous steampunk Supergirl, and she had this Victorian style cutaway dress. It's all about the imagination and using your imagination and enjoying it. And that's what's beauty about it. That's one of the reasons I love it. And also the other beauty is that my new bride, she loves it too. These are her dresses. That's her gun on here. This is her toys. She loves to wear it and look fancy. And that's another reason why we did our wedding like we did. You put people in fancy clothes, you give them some imagination, they actually love it. I do too.